Hey, this is the Two Spodes podcast. I'm Bayo Olukotun.
I'm Jake Williams, aka the Ladle.
Oh boy, the ladle. Here to stir the pot. We got a new episode for you. Every week we're going to be bringing out new episodes, hopefully, and we hope you guys like it.
Yep, we're gonna try something, bring something different, something new every week. We're just two buddies that love to talk moto, love moto, and we're gonna try to bring it to you guys.
I don't know if you saw my post on Instagram. Are you on Instagram at all?
I am, but
A
for
little
some
bit.
reason I'm not sure I see your posts or not.
Well, I did a story. Anyways, I went riding for the first time.
Oh yeah, I did see it.
Yeah. What I didn't put in there, I just didn't think of it. It was the dirt bike adventure outfitter. It was right across the street from the place we were staying on this island, Colanta. And it was dirt bike adventure / weed dispensary.
Did
Literally.
it say that for real?
For real. Like when I went to pay, I had to reach over like 15 jars of different types of bud. I went there the day before to arrange everything. And as I was shaking my guide's hand, he was taking an enormous rip off of a bong. Like literally stood up while he's like taking a rip off a bong. And he's like, okay. And then did the same exact thing 2 minutes before we took off.
You're like, is this Pilo?
Yeah. Actually, it reminded me of Steak Dog when we met him at Washougal. That was one of the biggest rips I've ever seen anybody take, and he was about to go out for the second.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was amazing. But I hadn't been on a bike for 7 months or something, 8 months. It was a shitty little Honda 250 or 230 or something, but it was just fun to cruise around. Did 30 miles and some random trails in Thailand. Got some amazing views and stuff. It was awesome.
So did you following a guide, or did you rent the bike to go for it?
Stony dude ripping. He does hard enduro in Thailand. There's like a hard enduro series in Thailand. And between rips, he was ripping it up on a dirt bike on a little KLX. Is that KLX 230, 250, whatever those little trail bikes are? But he was going up little rocky cliffs and just sending it. It was like within the first 5 minutes, I could tell he was just in that stoned, just tunnel vision. He was just gone. I think he forgot we were there.
Oh shit.
Yeah. But yeah, he was cool. And I was with this English guy who has like a tree service somewhere in the UK. And we were just cruising around all these hills and stuff. Koh Lanta, it's touristy, but not crazy. You just go off the kind of beaten path and you're just in the backwoods and there's monkeys and chickens and stuff running in your way. It was cool.
You believe it or not, I'm scared to death of monkeys.
Yeah, you should be.
They just seem like evil little creatures.
They are. We got caught in our hotel room for a half hour because there was like a family of monkeys that came and just terrorized our little spot right outside of our hotel room.
They ain't going out. We're stuck.
Yeah, Simon was with us. I guess it's just because he's their size and they zero in on him and like it's war. They like see him as an enemy. And last year it was the same group of monkeys and we were staying in the same exact hotel, same room and everything. And they straight up came after him, baring their teeth and everything. They've got like these huge
necks. That's what I'm saying.
I had to pull him away. He was terrified. He was screaming and crying. Yeah, they're awful.
Yeah, every video I've ever seen is they're just mean little bastards. They're smart.
Yes, they're crazy smart. They're so agile too. They're like disturbingly agile. They're just messing around. Like all the movies about monkeys just terrorizing stuff, like in Jumanji or something. It's pretty accurate.
We watched Night at the Museum 2 nights ago with the kids. There's monkeys in that one too.
I remember. I like that movie.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Um,
I got sucked into it.
yeah, so I don't know the likelihood of us covering doing week to week. We'll try, but season so far. What are your thoughts on the season?
Season's good. I think it's pretty exciting. The 450 classes, the points are good. It's like you never know who's gonna win. You know who's gonna be top five pretty much, but
Yeah,
you don't know which one of those five is gonna win on any given day.
yeah, it's true. I thought I had Hunter. I hadn't changed my picks for 3 weeks in fantasy, and I finally was like, he's not going to get it. It's not going to happen. And of course, he wins this past weekend. And then I looked at my previous picks. I had the whole podium for 3 weeks in a row. I had the podium for this past week. Then I changed it, and yeah, I love seeing how unpredictable it is. And unfortunately, the predictable part is Kenny's like slow decline
Oh yeah.
as the season goes on. I really wish he's still like right there. I feel like he's staying up, but I feel like it's starting to the wheels may have fallen off.
Yeah, so I think I mean there's lots of good stuff. The 250s like on West Coast is pretty much nobody's got nothing for Deegan, but that race in Seattle was like exciting. That was good stuff. I like the stuff when they break checking and like just where they almost come to a stop just messing with each other. I like that kind of stuff. I'd rather see that than a move. Like I don't believe Hunter Lawrence like when he hit Kenny he like in his interview I was already going down. It's like, no, you were you that was like just a cheap shot. Like he thought that he was gonna come out of bed. I don't think thought he was gonna take himself down, but he definitely knew he was going in hot. I don't know. I
Yeah, he
thought
knew he was going in hot. I feel like in that turn, Kenny actually started to turn in a little bit. He was starting to pivot there, like right before they hit, like just a split second before they hit. It seemed
yeah.
like he was about to pivot, which is maybe why they would have collided anyways. But in Hunter's defense, he was doing that line all night, jumping across from inside to outside and then pivoting back and going, squaring off that turn and then pivoting back to the inside. But of course, he didn't mean to take him out, but because he had pulled the move, I forget who it was who had passed there in a few laps earlier, or maybe in a previous in a
Yeah.
heat race or something. Worked. He barely timed it just right. But yeah, that time around it sucked. But I don't know. The 250s with that race, it's funny going around message boards. Everybody's just like really hating on RC lately and on Diffie.
Diffie's back.
Yeah,
Diffie's back.
Diffie's back. I know, but because Carmichael was like, "Oh, that's great racing" with Deegan and Kitchen going back and forth. The brake checking thing, it makes for a fun night to watch because there's a lot of back and forth. But I would rather see two guys just going as fast as possible, block passing each other and just trying to outsmart each other. At one point, Deegan brake checked on the face of a jump and Kitchen jumped right into him. And then he's looking back. I don't know. I think that's dangerous. But I was thinking back, did you follow when Carmichael was early days of his 250 big bike career?
Not necessarily, but I've watched a lot of old footage of it.
I was thinking because Carmichael was fine with what Deegan was doing because he used to do the same shit.
Yeah.
There's tons of times when he would just stop in a corner and just wait for the other dude to stop and then take off and look back just like Deegan does. Same type of thing. And it's not necessary because they're faster and you don't have to do that.
Yeah. I think that the tracks are just like Seattle was different because it was so muddy and rutted that it wasn't like any of like the tracks this year have been so fast and like high speed the whole time. And so you can't really do any of that stuff when it's like that high speed without killing somebody. And this track the Seattle track allowed you to do it because there were a lot of places where they were going slow enough to do kind of those fun to watch moves like in a lot of the tracks you just couldn't do that this year because they were just everything was so high paced this year.
They're too fast. And especially that whole sandy corner, that big long sweeper with the ruts, and it offered up so many options. The two previous tracks were like, it was a speedway. and flat and not really offering much passing opportunities. I agree. I think at least there was some passing, and this past race was awesome as well. I thought at least 450s were really good. Joe got
Yeah,
robbed.
250. Yeah, he did. 250s would have been better. Like the main guys all crashed in the first turn. Like I think Cole Davies is probably gonna beat Shimoda more times than not if he just doesn't crash because he's
If
just unreal speed.
Dude, if he stays on this trajectory, he might be one of the best riders ever.
Yeah, I mean his whoop speed is just like nothing. There's no comparison to any other rider, even in the 450 class.
He had the fastest whip speed. Period.
Oh, yeah, it seemed. I mean, it's just like holy shit. Like on the one, I think it was Seth Hammock, or no, maybe it was Adams. And
Yeah,
like,
Drew Adams. He blew
but Drew
past
Adams
him.
was going pretty fast through the whoops, and then all of a sudden he just like holy crap.
And he just passed up from what, almost dead last to, yeah, that was a pass for fifth. That was, yeah, or sixth. He's impressive. I feel like Deegan was not pumped with Davies last year because he was showing him up. I think when they're back in the same class, Davies is super early in his career, but if he keeps going, by the time he's aged up, Jet will probably be in the latter part of his career. But I think between those three riders, I think there are going to be some amazing rides in the 450 class. Because I think Davies, he's maybe as talented as Jet, maybe even more so.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely unreal skills, and we'll get to see them. Like there's a couple East-West shootouts, so we'll get to see
Oh, yeah.
Deegan and Davies race each other. And if Deegan loses, he'll be like, "I'm just playing it safe for the championship," but it's nah, you got smoked, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just
Interesting
don't
to
think
see.
he has the drive, but I just don't think he has the talent that Davies has.
No, Davies is definitely next level. Yeah, he's my
Um,
favorite guy to everything about him. His personality is really cool. He just rips. He's gonna be the next big star. If Deegan wasn't around, everybody would be talking about Davies like twice as much than they do now.
Definitely. That was part of the problem with last year. Even though Davies was winning, they kept talking about all this. Deegan was supposed to be winning, and Davies really was. I think he won. Did he win 3 races last year? 2 or 3 races? I think by the end of the season, he had the same amount of wins total that Deegan had in his career. And I think he was getting overshadowed. But now, after this past weekend, I don't think there's any question that he's the top dude.
Yeah. I think it's fun to watch this whole red flag or the red flag, the jumping thing. It's cool to
Red
see all the
flag
different
gate.
opinions, but I don't think that there's anybody that doesn't think that that was a complete joke of a like that was just like that was. And then for AMA to come out today and be like, nope, it was fine. You're like, what? Like,
Yeah.
how did you come up with that? Everybody saw it. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Jess watched the race with me, and as soon as that happened, I was like, AMA is never going to fess up to that. They're never going to say that it was their fault. I didn't know about the whole, was some rider, Derek Kelly or somebody, like jumped,
Yeah.
accidentally set it off because he went on the wrong side of the track, and that's what set off the red light. But that shouldn't happen. There shouldn't be like, it was a fault, and the AMA should fess up to it. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
At least say, like, even if you don't change anything, like results wise, you got to at least say, oh, yeah, that's a mistake. We're not going to let that happen again.
The fact that they're not taking any accountability for what went wrong. And then they're saying, like, the red light is there as a warning, basically, that the red cross flag is going to come out. But you can keep going if you don't see the red. But that doesn't make any sense. Like, it should be both.
Yeah.
Meaning don't jump.
Yeah.
And then the other one said that it was for the 450s, the red cross flag was out, but the red light didn't go on. So you could still jump. That doesn't make any sense.
Like, how is the rider even supposed to know? I think pretty much every team is going to be like, just jump it.
Jump.
Like,
Yeah. And then we'll just go back to the footage of this last race and be like, see?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it really made it seem like they have something out for HRC because it really affected HRC more than it affected them in both classes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So when I was racing a couple of years ago, I raced again for a little bit back in Englishtown in New Jersey. They're the most professional track in the region. I think the way they run things and it's organized and keep the facilities clean and all of that. But they adhere a little too much to like the professional flag rules and professional racing rules when it's just straight up amateur racing. It's local racing. And you were talking about the C class ripping in Southern California. At least when I was a kid, C class was not ripping at all.
Yeah.
It's definitely gotten faster. But my first race in almost 10 years, I think, I passed a dude right at the finish, right before the finish line, because there was a yellow flag. And I passed the dude right before the finish line, and he rolled it because he saw the yellow flag. I was like, it's a yellow flag. You can jump. It's a yellow flag.
Yeah.
And then he's immediately protesting. I got protested. My very first race, I got protested. And I was in second place, and then I passed and won the moto. This track, they do all the same flags the pros do, including the Red Cross flag. And I get protested, and they said, you're not supposed to jump on a yellow. And I'm like, but it's a yellow flag. They're like, no, you can't jump on a yellow flag. We're like, but you have the Red Cross flag. You can't jump on a Red Cross flag. No, you can't jump on a Red Cross flag or on the yellow flag. So why do you have a Red Cross flag if it serves the same purpose as the yellow flag? Can you explain that one to me? I don't know. What's the point? Why do you have two flags that do the same exact thing? There was no explanation. That's so confusing. When you're racing, why you shouldn't have to be making these split-second decisions.
Yeah, oh man, yellow is obviously in any sport. It's like caution, like use caution.
Be careful.
Yeah, like there might be. Yeah, there's if you want to send it, go ahead. But there might be somebody down over there.
Exactly. Like yellow card in soccer. Like, oh, okay, I won't do that again. But I can keep playing. Cool.
Soccer what's a yellow card?
Yeah. What they do. Come on. I did play some ball sports. I followed it. I know about it. But yeah,
what's a red card?
Yeah, red card, you're out. Done. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, the AMA, it serves its purpose, but yeah, when you have to admit fault. It's annoying, especially I think for anybody, for Joe, even though I don't think he even really, he's just happy to do that well in his first race back.
Yeah, he definitely could have won that race. Pierce Brown might have got him, but I don't think he would have. I'm not sure he would have. That track was really hard to make up time and positions in general. I mean, the only person I saw making forward progress through the field was Cole Davies. Other than that, it seemed like everybody was just stuck where they were. Like Tomac was right behind Roxon and Hunter Lawrence the whole race. And if anybody could wick it up, it would be him, and he just couldn't. I just don't think the track allowed you to do anything. It was so slick.
Yeah, it looked so slick. Yeah, it looked great initially, and then it got like crazy slick, and yeah, it did not look like a track. I wouldn't want to ride on any of these tracks, to be honest, but that one especially.
Yeah, that one it makes them look bad because like in some of the corners, you're like, damn, they're barely going through this corner. Like the corner before the flat corner before the finish line, it was like they're just like barely going.
Yeah, a few guys were flat tracking it that it looked all right. First lap or two, Kenny just hugged it so close to the inside, like his front tire was basically up against the backside of that berm.
Yeah.
And just hugged it so tight when Webb was trying to get around him, I think. Supercross it should be, in my opinion, it should be like 10 rounds. Because after this, it starts to feel a little long in the tooth. We have Daytona, and then I'm ready to go outdoors after that, to be honest. Just, of course, I'll watch as much racing as I can, but Supercross starts to feel a little repetitive to me.
Yeah. Which I think is the track builder's fault because there's so many different obstacles and different ways they could do the track to make it just different. They could make a track super technical with maybe just one long straightaway and the rest just like tight, like different. They can make it cool. They can make it like real. Whoa, that track was way different. But they don't do that. They're all the same. They're a little different, but for the most part, it's the same thing over and over again. So nice
Yeah,
to
I
see them.
agree. There could be so much more variation. I think it would be cool to go back to, if you watch old, like early days of Supercross, some of the tracks were basically, it was like an indoor motocross track, more or less. They were faster and they had some like weird sections, weird obstacles, straight up walls. They were doing the wall thing for a little while.
Yeah.
They backed away from that. But yeah, it would be nice to have a little bit more variation, or one other speedway track in the middle of the season, I think would be nice.
Yeah. Bud's Creek, for instance, it has that sweeping downhill, but there's rollers in it in the corner. It's
Oh man,
rollers, and
yeah,
it's just
that
super
section,
cool
yeah,
to watch. And it's like
awesome.
you could put rollers in a corner on a supercross track. That'd be cool. And they used to have dragon backs and all kinds of stuff. And I don't see them being any more dangerous than a gnarly whoop section. Like that whoop section this weekend was probably it took a lot of people out.
It took a lot of,
There's
yeah.
just there's no jumps that are safe in Supercross. So throw some variation in there and make it crazy. Make
Yeah,
it
I think they got rid of the dragon backs after Barsha went over the bars at Nashville. I think a couple guys went over the bars there. There was a nasty dragon back like a couple of years ago, and I think that was maybe the final straw. I think that was the same year that they decided to start taming the whoops down and going to 9. But that was also the problem with the whoops. There were definitely more than 9 whoops in this section. Everybody, they were like, no, we're going to 9 standard whoops now. Everybody's been practicing 9 whoops, and now they're all of a sudden they're more, and dudes don't know what to do because they're not used to it.
Yeah, there was definitely more than 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember being at Anaheim one, or like an Anaheim race, and it was my beginning of me watching Supercross and being there. And it was Ryan Morris on a razor on a dragon back, and it was a nasty crash that he did on it. It looked like he died, but he didn't. But it was like that obstacle is crazy. That is like when you're there watching people do it. For a rider, it must be every lap just oh shit, there it is again.
There was this track when I was doing moto schools. There was a track in Georgia, I think, that had a pretty legit dragon back to a single landing and the whole thing. And it was just a local track. I've always thought about that because it went into a single, then right into a turn. But then after that, it was chill. I can't imagine having to do that right into a crazy seat bounce triple or something every single lap.
You would have different winners if you would change things up quite a bit with just the layout of a track. If they made a track like super technical, like a slower speed technical track, there'd be some different guys. The same guys would be up front, but there might be a couple more guys that are like, oh, this is my, like, I can, because a lot of guys probably just don't want to go those full speeds. And they just, there's probably people that don't want to die, so they like,
Totally.
they'll go.
That was why McGrath was dominated so much in his day. The tracks were more technical usually, and he was the only dude who could do a lot of the obstacles in a way that was anything more than just trying to get through it. He could downside things from his BMX background. He could time things really well. Dragon backs, and he was killer in the whoops. The Carmichael and Stuart Reed era, they were the only 3 guys that could do anything more than just make it through the obstacles. We're not the only 3 guys, but the only 3 guys that could do it throughout an entire race at full race speed.
Yeah. I really, on this one, they had a couple of them where they jump onto the tables and then, I don't even know what you call that, but that
Like
looks
bunny
so
hop
awesome.
off.
Yeah, it's the coolest looking thing. When they nail it, and then this one had the 2, then and there was a where some people were taking that inside rut that was super gnarly, and then they were jumping like, and some people were jumping over it, but some people were landing on it and
Landing on and then off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like watching
that
is man, that is so cool.
So cool.
And
the timing, that's the timing of Supercross is so awesome because if you get it, it looks so effortless. It looks also impossible because they're going from a flat landing and then still catching air.
Yeah, like every time you're like waiting for catastrophe. You're like, no, their front tire is going to drop. If it drops 2 inches, they're dead. And they just do it. And I think that you have to like somewhat have either ridden moto or no moto a little bit to understand like how gnarly that is. Man, like if my wife watches that, she doesn't think anything about it. Or if just a person just watches it, they're like, it's just the same as any other jump.
It's,
But for like a
it's
guy like
true.
me and you, it's like, whoa, like that is crazy. That
Yeah.
looks so cool.
Yeah. I think that's the problem with the coverage is that they don't impart how hard every section is to do every single lap, like how dangerous it is, because it just becomes standard. And somebody pulled out that quad one lap, I think maybe in the 250s, and they didn't even mention it. And I think
Yeah.
the same thing happened in Seattle as well. Coming out of that sand turn, Kitchen was the only 250 guy. Maybe somebody else did it, but he was the only guy doing it almost every lap, jumping over the first turn and doubling into that next section and making his own rhythm. And that's where he was making up so much time. They barely mentioned it until the end of the race. But it was so incredibly technical and hard. He's the only dude who was doing it, and they weren't even acknowledging it. Like, just he's the only dude of these incredible pros that could do it. It just drives you crazy. They don't mention it.
Yeah, it is. And that's what I don't get about like the sport is like so great for like people, the moto heads. We all love it. And it's to me, it's like they do everything that they possibly can to make it so that the average Joe doesn't get into it. Like they do nothing to make it like then now it's like Carmichael is he was an amazing rider. Nobody's going to take that away from him. He did incredible things on a dirt bike. He is not an announcer. He says the same, so that's a parody or whatever, like words that don't even, what does that even mean?
He makes up some words sometimes.
Yeah,
For sure.
and it's just if they had some people like getting excited about it, like, oh, holy crap, did you just see what Levi Kitchen did and stuff like that? But they just don't. Like,
well, but that's
just a
also
little bit.
Carmichael does do that, but then he doesn't say anything after it. He'll just go,
he'll watch it. He'll like, whoa, then he'll get into
yes, analyze. You're the analyst. Please tell me more. Why are you saying oh? I understand that it's very difficult. Doing this and editing it I make so many mistakes. You actually don't make that many mistakes. I make a ton of mistakes. But I understand. I definitely appreciate that it is very difficult, especially to do it with the live. It's a live feed, and then there's people talking in their ear, telling them about things that are coming up for the broadcast. There's a lot of elements going on, but Carmichael's been at it for so long. He's been doing it for a long time now. I think 10 plus years. He's definitely improved, but Carmichael does not even compare to Stewart, who hasn't been doing that long, but he just turns out to be really good at offering analysis. They have him for moto, but I don't understand why they don't have him for Supercross more.
Yeah, and like on a whole nother,
maybe there's something else going on there.
Yeah, like on a whole nother side of it, say they weren't even giving analysis, but like for the first time, I went to Motocross of Nations when it was at Lakewood in Colorado at Thunder Valley, and the announcer was, I don't know what he's like, French maybe, but just the way he is announcing makes it so exciting because he's so excited. Yeah, exactly. If they had somebody like that doing the announcing, like maybe they don't give any analysis of the actual technical part, but they're just into the race, just screaming and yelling, like getting into it. I feel like that would be 10 times more fun to watch. Like
they do make it so I don't know why they want to make it so vanilla for the broadcast, but yeah, you're right. Have you ever watched the Canadian series?
I watched a little bit when Phil Nicoletti was racing it.
But all the announcers, they were all riders or they've been around it for forever. They get so excited about anything that anybody's doing on the track. It makes me want to watch, even though the racing is not, or the riding is not quite to the US standard. It's close, but the way they announce it is exciting. I'm like, I'm just pumped for these guys because they're pumped.
They're like, this is awesome. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel like if something like that, they got somebody announcing with just some energy instead of just, you know what, weeds, blah, blah, just like they're just talking. They're not into the race at all. And maybe they are into it, but they're not showing that they're into it. They're not like, you're not hearing any excitement out of them.
I think it's also probably just in keeping with I'm sure NBC has whatever their standard is for the way you're supposed to announce. Because if you go to any NBC sports broadcast, they're all been that middle of the road. It's all kind of vanilla. Like you'll have your analyst, or if it's figure skating for the Olympics or for football, you'll have your analyst and they'll give their 2 cents on what they think whatever athlete is doing. But it doesn't sound exciting. It's always just, this is what's happening and this is what I think. But I'm not going to get too excited because I'm not allowed to.
My story was going to be, I remember I had just started traveling. I think it was my first one. I got hired like randomly to go travel to the Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first one I got to go to was Thunder Valley. And Don was like, "Oh, you can come out here with me." When he was taking pictures, I was done selling the subscription. He's, "Oh, you can come and like trackside." And of course, I don't remember who it was. Probably it was Stewart. Probably comes flying by, and I'm like, "Free from." And Don's, "Dude, you can't do that." I'm just, what? What? So it was like weird. I probably felt dumb, but also just it was awesome. It's hard not to just be pumped.
But you're supposed to, you're a journalist, or you were with the journalist, so you're supposed
Yeah.
to remain impartial. I think there's even photographers and whoever else giving high fives to whatever rider after a race. I think there are times when they can let it go a little bit, especially Hunter Lawrence finally getting a win, or Pierce Brown finally getting a win. The only guys I ever cheered for when I was shooting on the side were privateers who were, I was like a friend of mine or something. Yeah, you're in 34th. Keep going.
Some of my most exciting races I watched were like I traveled when we had to you had to get the magazines in the tent to every race, and we always sent them with Team Gus, which most people probably don't know what Team Gus was, but he like was a huge privateer team, and he had
Is he not
basically
around anymore? Is it not? It's
no,
not.
he's
Now
around,
it's
but
all
he's
gone.
not doing it anymore. He doesn't
Hmm.
do anything with moto. He was a crazy guy that just loved moto, loved helping people out. You didn't really get anything for being under Team Gus's rig. You just got a tent to pit under. So I met through that because I was always getting my stuff from Team Gus. I ended up meeting like some of the riders, which was like Stank Dog and Preston Mole was one of them. They were always just trying to make the main. Like just to make the main was an incredible feat for him. And I remember Mole like one time got like 13th place in the main event, and it was just like I'd never been so excited for somebody like a moto guy ever. It was just so cool. It's so much different. But people don't, you never see that side anywhere unless you're there. You don't see that on TV. You don't see any of that stuff that these privateers, they've given everything. They're making nothing. They're spending all the money they have, all the money their parents have to be at these races to just try to like make a main, and 90% of the time they never do. And then when they do, the feeling of that for them is incredible. I remember just like going running up and giving him a hug, and the guy's borderline tears for 13th place in the main event because that's incredible. And it
It's
took a
huge.
lot of
It's
different
huge.
things to make that happen.
Oh yeah.
But
No, it's huge. Yeah, you don't see any of that. You see the LCQ top four, but all of the stuff that goes on in the pits and just getting to the races, it's such a, it's, that's the interesting thing about the sport is at the top five dudes are making well into the millions. And then you get into maybe the hundreds of thousands per class. And then it so quickly drops off to, you're not making it. You are paying to be there.
you're losing money.
You're not making it so quickly. Like the like 20th place, you're probably paying to be there. And like maybe it's extended a little bit further, but all the Team Gus guys and yes, Stank Duck, he did have a couple paid rides. I'm assuming they were paid rides for Arena Cross. But otherwise, it's basically like you're bringing your local race setup and you're basically bringing that right next to the Honda factory trailer.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go up against the best guys in the world with unlimited funds.
Yeah. What Team Gus was before it was Team Gus was Wonder Warthog.
Oh,
And the Wonder Warthog team, they had a pretty cool thing. Like if you were the fastest qualifier, you would wear like I think it was a cape.
Cape. Yeah.
And so that kind of
Yeah.
stuff was really cool. But you don't see none of that anymore. The only time you see anything like really cool is, and probably most people don't notice it, is like in the LCQ when somebody that hasn't made a main makes it. Like say they get third place in the LCQ, and you can see how excited they are over the finish line, just like and people are probably, why is this guy happy he got third place in the LCQ? It's because he's probably tried 50 times to make a main and never made it. He's on a borrowed bike with somebody else's motor in it, like
And on top of it, he spent his entire life trying to get there. How many races do you have to do just to get your pro license? Like countless hours spent getting to that point. And you're like, so for the guys that never make it, or just they're so close, to be the 25th fastest rider at a Supercross is incredible. At a local level, to any local rider, the guy that's getting 25th place at a Supercross, technically getting 25th place at a Supercross, will blow your doors off.
like,
at a local track.
Close. Like,
never go as fast as that guy. And he can't even qualify for this event that he's been trying for his entire life.
Yeah, 100%. One time when I was living in Huntsville for Loco X, the Preston Mole and Stank Dog came out, and there was like a local track out, a local race, and it was just them two. They were the pro class, just those two, and it was a night race, and just the whole everybody, every rider, every person that was there, which might have been 200 people, they're all watching it, and just watching them, like you're like, oh my God, these guys are so fast. And then they go to the race on the weekend and they can't even get anywhere, like nothing. So they're like, it's amazing. It really is, because you think, if you see some of those guys, let's just say you saw one at Milestone, you saw Preston Mole at Milestone, you didn't know anything about motor, you would think, there's no way you can go any faster than that. Like, it's not possible to go faster than that guy.
On a dirt bike.
And then like, now there's about 30 people that can go faster than that. You know, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, yeah. Did you watch the LCQs and everything this past weekend?
Yeah.
Because they were giving shout outs, because Jason Wygant's from New Jersey, and he used to flag at my local track when he was a kid, Englishtown. And so whenever there's a Jersey kid in there, he'll always mention they're from New Jersey. Brighton Carroll, I think his dad is actually, I think he's technically from Pennsylvania, but he spends tons of time at Englishtown. Brighton Carroll he qualified, and then they started giving all these father-son. JT went into this father-son thing, breaking it down. And he mentioned, Brighton Carroll, who is Brian Carroll's kid, Corey Karsten, who is Barry Karsten's kid. Those two guys, they were gods to me when I was growing up, Brian Carroll and Barry Karsten. They had so many epic battles at Englishtown, just the two guys going back and forth. Every single moto they'd battle. And then he mentioned Jace Kessler being Mickey Kessler's kid. And I was like, man, you blew it, because that's Dakota Kessler is Mickey Kessler's kid. Jace Kessler, I don't know, he's from like the Carolinas or something. Like, you're doing like such a good job, and good cred. I'm sure there were some East Coasters who were like, come on, dude, do your homework.
That's funny.
But those guys are incredible locally. They'll dominate a race, and then at the pro level in motocross, I don't think they have too much trouble qualifying for outdoor races, but they still, neither of them have earned a national number within the top 100. And then in Supercross, they're on the cusp at best every single weekend, but locally they're incredible.
Yeah. That's what's a little bit better about, like, one of the good things about outdoors is a local that races that particular track all the time actually can get a top 10, because especially at a place like Southwick, you'll see a bunch of people in the top 10. You're like, who the hell is freaking like, but it's because that guy's done like 1,000 or like 20,000 laps on that track. And like Supercross, that never happens. Nobody's ever got an advantage. Like, nobody's done more laps. Like, it's different every time.
True, yeah. So maybe if it's like conditions if it's a muddy race, then you get somebody that comes out of nowhere, or Plessinger. And Washougal too. Not as much these days, but it used to be there were some local dudes, Jason McCormick and Ryan Huffman. They both had some incredible rides there. And that was both, they both ended up with factory rides, semi-factory rides because of what they did at Washougal. And it was because they were just like, they were local dudes. I think one year Jason McCormick got, I think, third in a moto, and most people never even heard of him. And all of a sudden he gets third in a moto. It's incredible.
That's something you don't see anymore, at least that I can think of, is that, for instance, one round at, man, I can't remember where we were at, but one of the factory Yamaha guys got hurt. Might have even been James Stewart. And they put freaking Sean Borkenhagen on a factory Yamaha for one race. And they like, it was like, of all the people, like, how did he get? They used to do that. Like, if somebody got hurt, they're going to fill that position with somebody, no matter what. They're going to and they should do that. They should still do that. If somebody's out, throw somebody on the bike, because there's tons of people that jump on the opportunity. Oh
yeah,
hell yeah, I'll ride that thing.
Definitely.
He'd sucked so bad, even on the factory bike. He still didn't do good. But I remember cheering for him because he was from Huntington Beach, and so Pilo was always cheering for him.
That's right.
And so I was like,
Kyle Cowling was like
and we interviewed, I was with Kyle, and he was like doing an interview with Brock Tickle, who was really good friends with Borkenhagen, and we were talking about, hey, what do you think about him getting the factory ride? It was fun listening to one of his buddies be stoked for him. Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, was it a TLD? I think he got a TLD ride. Somebody got hurt on the.
He got a TLD ride too, but this was an outdoor 450. He got to ride.
Oh, really?
One factory, like under the factory tent. It was 100% factory Yamaha. Got to ride an outdoor race with their bikes.
That was always cool because it gave you the dude isn't gonna win, but it's like cool to see them, like what they can do with factory equipment, see how much of a difference that makes. Or is it the equipment that's making the difference? Or is it just the excitement of having that level of support, and then they just give it that extra little bit?
You would think you would. Like, why not? You're going to definitely give it your all if the opportunity presents itself, you know?
Yeah, I think they still do that here and there. It's just increasingly rare. Yeah, supposedly Sabachi has some little bit of factory parts and stuff in there, but that's not really a fill-in ride. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I've been following moto forever. So like back in the day, Mike Craig, Christian Craig's dad, he was a factory Yamaha rider. And he, in the same year, won a Supercross race, his only Supercross win in the 250 class, with McGrath and everything. Won maybe Tampa, or I think it was a Florida round. And then in outdoors, he wasn't in good shape. I don't know what was going on, but he started pulling off in the middle of a moto, like second moto, just like, I'm tired. He was throwing the towel, and eventually he got fired from Yamaha. They dropped him, or at least they stopped supporting him at the races. And they gave John Dowd, was already starting to do pretty well on a totally privateer team, but they started giving him a little bit of support. And then finally, like towards when Craig just threw in the towel, basically, they gave Dowd a factory bike, but it still it was almost entirely a factory bike, but it just looked like his privateer bike. And that was when his career just took off. And it was like the perfect example of, this is what, if you give the right guy a little bit of support, or you give them the full package and they're already doing everything else, it can work out.
Yeah, that's probably real rare for that to, like at this point, most of the guys that are going to do good have the ride. There's very few people. I'm sure that there's a lot of people riders you would talk to that would tell you, like, oh, if I had a factory ride, but it's probably not, dude. You might
if you had a factory ride, then you would have a factory ride right now.
Exactly. No. If I could train like they do, that's what you hear about Deegan. He's been given everything. It doesn't change
his dad sold Metal Militia for $40 million, and they had a lot of money, and his dad is super savvy. I'm sure they have a lot more money now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. There have been plenty of rich kids who have come in and done nothing. Maybe they got to the pro level, but then past that, was it
like Dakota Tedder?
The Tedders, they got to the pro level, and then they've kept the whole thing going, but they have tons of money. I think the Tedders have the high tension wire electrical wire contract for Vegas. That's there. They have
That's what I'm
so much
saying. Like,
money.
there's plenty of people. Pretty much most of the pros that if you're racing pro, your family's not poor.
It's so
Yeah,
rare. Remember Villeman, his dad, I forget what the quote was, but his dad said something like, motocross is for either the super rich or the super talented, and you got to be one or the other. And he did fine. I don't think he came from much. And I love all the stories that where they aren't coming from much. Lawrence's, they talked about it a crazy amount, but yeah, it's such an expensive sport. Even though it's probably one of the cheapest motorsports you can do, it's still expensive and only increasingly.
yeah,
I think there was a kid in, I think, '09, there was a kid on Star. He was like Brazilian. I forget what his name was, but it was a paid ride. I think he was on the team for most of the year. And I think he paid like 250 grand to be there, something like that. And they got him to all the races. He was in the truck, was a part of the program, but he was paying to be there. And there was another kid, Craniac, whose dad was it was like L&M. Remember L&M racing
yeah.
with like Stewart and everything? I think the M was Mike Craniac. He's a billionaire. And but his kid was at least good enough to race pro, which is something. And he was in the factory rig with James Stewart because he's a billionaire.
Yeah, like you could give, even at say 8 years old, you give me $1 billion, my family $1 billion, I'm still not going pro ever.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't have that talent. Like, it's not just talent. Like, one thing about moto is there is a lot of talent, but you have to have no fear. Like, you have to have this whole nother mindset that you're not, you have to be pretty fearless to be sending it like they do.
I agree. Like with Deegan, with Hayden Deegan, he just is lucky. He's lucky enough to have that perfect combination. He has the drive. His parents definitely instilled in him whatever it is, that little bit. He has the talent to match it, and they had the resources in case it didn't work out, or to keep being able to go to the races and all of that. And then on top of it, all of the experience that his dad brought to it with his own racing. And yeah, it's like the perfect combination, but it doesn't happen very often. Volant, maybe they didn't have the resources, but definitely had the experience and all the support they could need. And he's really good. I think he's insanely talented, but for whatever reason, it's not there yet. It still could be, but I don't think he'll ever get to Hayden's level.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very few people do. That's the thing. Every year for long periods of time, there's only a couple people that are. There's only a couple Jet Lawrences and Eli Tomacs, and they just don't. There's only few. They're just in the whole world. There's just.
It's true. It's true.
At any given time, there's only 5 or 10 of those people that exist.
Yeah, 10 of those dudes. If you count in Europe and the MXGPs,
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
there's 10 of those guys that could win on any day, on any track, at least outdoors. But I think all these dudes like Tomac, Webb, Roxon, Anderson, even Malcolm Stewart in there, they're on this incredible. I don't think there's ever been a stretch this long where the same guys have been competing against each other. And they're over a decade now of being at the top level. I can't remember another time that's happened. Usually you're lucky to get 6 years of these, like a good heated rivalry. Carmichael and Stewart with Reed in there, Emig and McGrath, maybe 7 years of a real rivalry. And Tomac went to 450s in 2015, I think, and has been at the top. He's still like at the top level. Like 11 years. That's 12 seasons. Is that 12 seasons later? 11 seasons later? It's crazy.
And it actually looks like this season is honestly probably the funnest season. He has more personality now than he's ever had. Like in the interviews and stuff, he's like happy.
I mean,
like,
that's not saying much.
I know it's not saying much, but he's still, before he had nothing. And now
True.
It's kind of like fun to listen to his interviews. He's like, usually, man, this bike rips. And I heard him talk in an interview recently, like that the way his bike turns and handles in the corners is just, he hasn't had that in years. It's been like, and he's still been dominant in all those years when he didn't have what he has now, he was always the top guy. There's never been really a year in Supercross when he hasn't been a top guy. He like would the first couple years I remember he would choke a lot. He did a lot of
Yeah.
stupid like the time when his pants remember that he crashed in his first
Oh,
moto
would
and
his pants like fall down basically?
yeah, like well, it broke his buckle on his pants. And then the
It's never
next
a good
race
look
he
for
did something
anybody.
stupid too, and oh come on, man, because it ruins the whole championship run. But he's always
Yeah.
been like a fast guy.
Yeah, definitely. Even that, yeah, his first year pro, he won like a bunch of races. Having that longevity in this sport is, and that's also the interesting thing is they're here and they're all the top dudes right now, and I haven't heard retirement talk out of any of them going
No,
into 27. No,
yeah, and none of those guys need money. Not one
no,
of them. Not
no.
one of them is doing it because they need money. They love racing. They love it, and that's cool.
And like, why not keep doing it when you can do it at the top level? I definitely respect a lot like what Carmichael did. It's crazy to think what Tomac is 32 now. Carmichael retired when he was 27. And imagine if he had kept going for another
Yeah.
years. It's just crazy how it's like the whole game has changed. And James Stewart didn't, his career was so up and down. He would win a championship and then he'd be out for another 2 years, which is actually what's happened to Lawrence too, Jet Lawrence. I don't know how old Stewart was when he retired, but it was definitely premature. It seemed, and just to stay healthy and competitive for so long is incredible. And to do it when you don't even need to do it anymore.
I could see it if you were broke. I gotta
Yeah.
keep going. I need that money. But imagine how much money Jason Anderson has made off of even just his Team Fried merchandise. They just don't need the money. I saw a thing about an interview with Roxon, and he was talking about outdoors. He's like, I hate outdoors. And he's at a point in his career where he does not have to race outdoors. So he can just do, and that's probably why he'll go for a few more years, is because he can just do Supercross. And Supercross to him is easy. He can probably be a top 5 guy in Supercross for a few more years because he's just, yeah. And all those guys have kids now, which makes it even gnarlier because they risk so much. Even being as good as they are, it's still a huge risk in Supercross. Something like what happened with Malcolm and Barsha, that can happen.
Anytime.
Yeah, they were able to just block all that out and still go out there and have it's fun for them. So it's just really cool. Like, it is really cool.
It is. Yeah, it's incredible. I was actually, when Roxon won and he was talking about Larry Brooks, I hadn't known that he was sick. Maybe other people did.
Yeah.
I started going down this kind of rabbit hole, just thinking about like the contributions that Larry Brooks has made to Supercross. He is the reason that Supercross only contracts even exist. They had been talking about it for a while in McGrath's era, and then it didn't actually end up happening until Larry Brooks got McGrath on the Chaparral team, and that whole thing got started. And then from that point on, like Supercross only contracts were like a thing, but it was all because of him, because I think Brooks knows that Supercross is where the money's made. And so and you get more time out of your riders too, a longer career.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Roxon has Brooks to thank for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. You can watch it. I do a deep dive into his whole history, but he was really like he was the one that he brought in outside sponsorships like nobody really had before. And actually the very first team that, this is cool, the very first team that he managed, he raced on as well, which I don't know if that really happened. It was the first year of Chaparral existing as a proper team. And it was Larry Brooks in the 250 class and Greg Schnell, who I don't know if you know who Greg Schnell is. Yeah, Greg Schnell, who was like, I think he was in his second year on 125s, and Brian Deegan. And I think it was like the first legit team that Brian Deegan had been on. And he earned like national number 25 that year. And the crazy thing about that was because it was Chaparral, I think the whole idea was it's a shop. So let's show everything that we sell in the shop. So every rider on the team raced on a different brand. Brooks ran on Yamahas. Schnell was on Suzuki's and Deegan was on Hondas. That was the only year they did that.
Yeah.
I was supposed to do any testing or anything.
Yeah. And just like the sponsoring part of it.
Yeah, it worked for a year. They got some decent results and stuff, but yeah, that must have been so much work.
They're all wearing different brand of helmets and different.
No, they were all AXO when yeah, they could have done that too. They were all AXO that year.
Get all this stuff at Chaparral.
Yeah. Two different brand gloves. All right, that was Two Spodes. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed recording it. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and Instagram and on Spotify. Instagram is Two Spodes. It's all Two Spodes. Two Spodes everywhere. And hopefully we'll have some more fun episodes for you. And ask us some questions, send in some requests. We'll try to do whatever. We don't know how this is going to go. Look forward to seeing you again next time.